I'm sure some of you like to read novels or watch films. And if you do, you will recognise a common device that many writers use to tell their story. Often throughout the story, the author cleverly weaves together two contrasting characters. Sometimes the contrast is obvious right from the very start of the story, but other times it isn't so easy to detect. We might see some subtle hints of what may be going on underneath the surface, but the true nature of the characters doesn't reveal itself until a sudden and surprising final twist in the tale. Near the end of Matthew's account of Jesus' life, he tells a short story where we see two characters contrasted. The difference, although not clearly discernible to the onlookers, couldn't be more stark or shocking. This really is an unexpected twist in the tale. The scene is set in a private home in the village of Bethany, just a couple of miles outside of Jerusalem. A man called Simon the leper was hosting a dinner party in honour of Jesus, and of course his 12 disciples were there too. Probably near the end of the meal, a woman came up to Jesus as he was reclining on the seat, and she poured a jar of very expensive perfume on his head. Now, it wasn't just a few drops. She poured the whole lot, probably about a pint, over his head. You can just imagine how quickly the beautiful fragrance spread throughout the room. But unfortunately, that wasn't the only thing that was spreading throughout the room. No sooner had she poured out the perfume than Jesus' 12 disciples began to furrow their brows and cast their disapproving looks and their indignant remarks around the room. One and all, they thought this was a ridiculous waste. Why would anyone think it was necessary or even acceptable to pour a whole jar of such an expensive perfume on somebody's head? A few drops, maybe, but the whole lot, outrageous. Their arguments sounded so pious and plausible. The perfume could be sold and the money given to the poor. But Jesus didn't agree. Yes, it was costly. This was an act of total extravagance. It was the extravagance of love and worship. Jesus saw her heart of love and he knew that she was giving up her most valuable possession as an act of worship and adoration. And he told those disapproving disciples that she had done a beautiful thing to him. But immediately following this, the story takes a very dark, dramatic, and unexpected twist. If you've read through the whole Gospel of Matthew, well, you're used to the disciples getting it wrong, misreading situations, misunderstanding Jesus, but we know that they were only human, and his way of doing things was very different from what they expected. But nothing in the story so far leads us to anticipate what happens next. One of the 12, Judas Iscariot, got up from that scene of extravagant and costly love and he went out. Now the others thought he'd gone to make some further arrangements for them, but he went straight to the Jewish religious leaders and he asked them what they were willing to give him if he betrayed Jesus to them. Now, this wasn't someone who'd been an enemy, but someone who'd been one of Jesus' closest friends, who'd been with him for the best part of 3 years, who'd seen him do miracles, who'd heard him teach, who'd watched him pray. He knew all about Jesus, and by now he knew enough to understand that following Jesus involved giving, even costly giving. But the overriding desire of Judas's life wasn't about giving, it was about getting. He sold Jesus for 30 silver coins. At the time, he thought it was worth it. That money jangling in his pocket felt good. Maybe there was a little bit of guilt nagging in his mind, but he could easily shove that aside because it was time to dream about what he could buy with 30 silver coins. The money was burning a hole in his pocket. It was time to spend, spend, spend. But within a very short time, the money he had received for selling Jesus wasn't burning a hole in his pocket. It was burning a hole in his heart. He saw Jesus being condemned to die. He knew he was innocent. He had sold Jesus to get something for himself, but he realized that what he had really done was to sell his own soul. Maybe you know people who are extravagantly giving their best to Jesus. It might be their time, their energies, their money, or their possessions. It's costly. You look at them, well, you might think they're mad, or you might admire them, but you still think it's too much for you. You still want to get something for yourself. The question I want to ask you today is this: what are you selling Jesus for? Are you selling him for a bit more money? For more possessions? More prestige? Can you imagine being like Judas and one day coming to the realization that what you've really done is to sell your own soul? Jesus said in Matthew 16 verses 25 and 26, "For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for me will find it. What good will it be for a man if he gains the whole world, yet forfeits his soul? Or what can a man give in exchange for his soul?"